Welcome to Cosmic Divide, episode 56. It's an important one. It's the Champs preview show, and so I decided, because this is so important, to bring in a professional. Mr. Elevated Speaks is here to join me. Back again, back where we belong. How are you, Elevated? How's life back in you're back in America now?
Yes, I am back in the US. Life is good. Just visiting my parents, which is why my setup is a little scuffed, but I am excited to talk about Valorant because I've been sort of focusing on everything but that for the last week or two. But I've been watching some games to prepare for this show, and I've been doing some research to support my arguments. So I'm ready to destroy you with facts and logic.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. Now, I haven't told you, but during the off season in particular, I do want to get you on another episode to talk about coaching and coaching philosophy and what you've learned and all of that. I think that would be quite fun to do. But for now, we have much more important things to talk about. And that, of course, is Champs. So we're going to run through, I did a top 10 list. Platchat did theirs. I'm not expecting you to have made a full top 10 list here, Elevate, but I do want to get your takes on, some of the hot takes going into Champs to some of the players you think are, should be getting the respect or maybe didn't get the respect that, maybe they deserve. And then obviously we'll be talking about, I do want to do something a bit special with a power ranking later in terms of teams that we think can actually win the tournament. And then also talking about kind of, general predictions. It's a prediction show. What would you expect? But first, let's talk about top 10 lists, okay? Because, again, I made mine. And, the Platchat people made theirs. This is what the Platchat kind of averaged one. This is what we ended up with, okay? So for those of you who can't quite read it, potentially, if you've got bad eyes, hopefully you could read that. But anyway, something is number one, which I agreed with. I think I also put Nats 2, and I think I put Forsaken 3 and Valorant 4. So I had the exact same top 4 that Platchat did here. Obviously, my points also went into that, so that does make some sense. Then next they had Jing, which I didn't nearly have as high. I think Hiko I did put around 5 or 6. YZ I put in 9th, I know that. Althea I put around that spot. Leaf wasn't on my list at all, but ended up in 9th. And then Rien's, who I also had towards the bottom of the top 10, made it into 10th as well. Just first off, Elevated, looking at that list, is there anything that stands out as like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, number one. I don't understand. I have zero clue why something is number one. Actually, I do have a clue. It's because everybody who submitted their list is insanely recency biased. Because there's zero world where this guy should be number one. And I I think he's a very good player. Obviously, I've been a fan of his for a long time. I played against him. I understand how good he is. But number one player in the world going to this tournament, absolutely not. Zero chance. And here's why I think this is insane.
Okay.
So, if you look at stage 2 stats, right?
I can go and get them up. Yeah, I'll get them up now.
Is he the number one player in any category?
Hold on, let me get the specific one.
One category. KD playing Yoru. Okay. So he's number 2 in rating. I'll give him rating number 2. ACS not anywhere close to the top. KD, he is number 1. ADR, not even close to the top. Kills per round, not close to the not number 1. He is up there. He's number 2. First kills, he's number 2. So he's had a good statistical season. He is a good player, but he's not number 1 in like any category that matters for a duelist. That's for stage 2. The tournament that PaperX won, Masters Toronto, statistically is something anywhere near the top of that? No. He's like in the middle of the pack. He's actually one of the worst rated players on PaperX. And this is when they won Masters. Did he have a great finals? No, he was actually the worst rated player in the finals. What about when they won stage 2? Okay, that's where we start to see why he's number 1. Because he had a great series against RQ and he had a great series against Talon. That's it. It's the only reason he's number 1 in this list. I probably would not put him in the top 10. I think there's maybe one player from Paper X that deserves to be in the top 10, and that's Forsaken. And then the second is probably Devi. And I think that if those two players are at their best, then Paper X does very well. I think Something and Jing sort of like fascinate people with their flashy play. And so when it looks good, it looks really, really good. So I can understand why people think that he's the best player in the world, but he's absolutely not.
Well, I'm gonna have to pull you up on a couple points here. Okay.
Okay.
This is good though. This is good. Early, strong takes, I would say.
Sure.
So, one thing I would say is because you mentioned, going back to Toronto, and I agree with you. Like in Toronto, he, definitely wasn't their best player. I definitely agree with that, and maybe even for parts after that, he wasn't. My question is, how long? I mean, because this is the thing you're saying it's recency bias. I mean, I don't care about anything else. When I do my list, it is literally just stage 2. Because I like my list to be a time capsule of the moment. Because I think that's more fun when you look back at older. Like, I remember Martine was like number 2, I think, in one of these, like going to Madrid.
Yeah.
And like, you obviously would now be like, what? Martine was number 2? Or like, Jemkin was number 1 going into Toronto, right? But I like that. I think that's more fun to see, like, how things have changed in that moment, kind of, capturing that moment in time. So, but like, if I was to defend a pick like this, it would be that, at least for me, I don't know how other people do it, but I guess it is somewhat similar. Anything before that isn't stage 2 is completely non-essential, right? Because otherwise, wouldn't you just end up with literally the same players all the time? Of like, wouldn't it always be,
Sure, your list would probably be the players that are the most consistently good throughout the entire year. Yeah,
but that makes a very boring list, does it not?
That's generally what the top players in the world are.
Yeah, but does that? But then, what's the point in doing it? Because guess what, guys? Aspas and Althea and Chronicle, they did it again, guys. They did it again.
I mean, accuracy would be why you would do that, but if we don't want to be accurate, then that's fine.
Well, no, I'd rather have an interesting time capsule, personally.
I do understand. It's like, if this is specifically to promote who is maybe like peaking at the right time, who are the players that you're like the most expected to have good tournaments, I think that makes a lot of sense. But best players, I would not say that these are the best players if we're going to define that. I mean, some of them are, but not all of them.
Okay. But I do want to pick you up on something else, though, as well. Something else that you said to me. We were co-streaming a game. I can't remember exactly what game it was. But you were on a call with me as a co-stream was going on. And we were talking about the best Yorus. And this was a while ago. And you said that the best Yoru in the world was Something. Those words came out of your lips. And I argued for Jemkin at the time. But now I agree with you. It is Something.
Yep.
Well, I would argue the best player in the world on abusing the best agent is likely to be one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to like global stats for every single game that's ever been played on VLR, last 60 days, Something is the highest rated Yoru in the world. So the stats do back that up. And sure, he's really good at that agent. He has a lot of impact on that agent. Does that mean he's the best player in the world? No, because I can promise you that if Paper X has a very, very good tournament, the reason that they will either win the event or place in the top 3 will be because of Devi and Forsaken.
Okay. Interesting. See, I disagree with that. I really disagree with that. I really do. I mean, not that, like, obviously, yeah, if those two, I mean, but you could say, like, if any two players go absolutely crazy, then yeah, you're probably going to have a decent tournament. But I would say, I would agree that Forsaken is probably the most important in terms of, like, if his level is low or if his level is high, that would probably have the biggest impact for their overall tournament. But I mean, what I want to know next is I don't know if you've made a list or not, but give me a sense, a flavor of some of the names that you would want to see towards the top of a list like this.
Sure. So I guess the first thing before I do that, I just want to say, like, I do think that Something has massively, massively, massively improved, and his Yoru is really good. Like, because in the past he would always be a very high like first blood player, but he'd also give away a lot of kills. And I feel like right now he's really kind of like found that sweet spot of like when to be overly aggressive and when not to be, and he's abusing the Yoru mechanic super, super well right now. So I do agree that he's getting like a huge amount of value out of this character. But yeah, okay. So as far as my list goes, I do have to give you guys props for having Valen in the top 10 because having an IGL I think is important. So if you've got an IGL who's on one of the best teams that does shoot well, I think Valen makes a lot of sense. I think not having Ospas in the top 10 is insane because regardless of how MIBR performs, I think just discounting the fact that this guy has been the best player in the world for like 2.5, 3 years and just being like, oh, well, he's not the best player in the world anymore simply because his team is not that good is not correct. I do think that he's struggling to adapt to the current meta. So is he the best player in the world? No, but certainly just pure mechanics, pure ability wise, pure ceiling wise, he has to be on a top 10 list just because everybody knows that he's that good. I think that Rien's probably should be higher because I think he might be the best player in the world, period, at the moment in terms of impact. I think Nats is appropriately valued. I think Kiko belongs on here as well. I think YZ is probably not supposed to be on here. I think he's again one of these players that gets rewarded for being flashy in terms of people's rating of him. I also think that, as far as lists go, I think this is like it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but there's definitely some people that I think are being overvalued simply because they like do cool things. I think you probably have to have somebody from EDG, either Kong Kong or Chichu, on this list again, just because these are players who are historically and have been proven to be insanely good for a very long period of time. I also think that Woot maybe should be considered on this list, and certainly some more people from G2 is what I was going to say. Certainly some more people from G2 probably belong somewhere near, if not on this list, on the top 10. And then I would also maybe give a shout to somebody like Zekin, deserving to be on the top 10. Again, I know this is boring. These are players who show up here a lot.
Yeah,
maybe their stage 2 performance hasn't been quite as good, but if we're just talking about pure ceiling at an international event, people that I would want on my team if I was trying to win this event, there's definitely some omissions for sure.
See, it is interesting. It is interesting because when you're like what we're talking about here is almost a philosophical difference of how to construct the top 10 list in a way.
Agreed.
But what you made me think about is like, and I think one of the best ways often of thinking about these top whatever lists is if there was an NFL draft style, who would go in the top 10. And I think it is that I think poses an interesting question because then you do start to think, well, what would you do if you were GMing a team that had the first pick? Would you go for someone like something who's playing really well right now? But historically, you think maybe. Well, I mean, I tend to like to take IGLing out of it somewhat as well because, like, obviously, like the IGL is probably the most important. Valen would probably go 1. Nats might go 2. For sake of it, like stuff like that would happen. But if you take that kind of IGLing aspect out of it and we're just drafting on players alone, let's say the rules were that the coaches could be the IGLs essentially, right? Go back in time, do the ascend thing, win the tournament like that. Who then would you pick? You seem to very much be on the case of just pick the players that have historically been, the best players. But like, let's take an example of YZ versus Kang, right? Kang historically one of the best players of all time, but recently
this is also a terrible comparison because obviously you just pick Kong because it makes your franchise incredibly worth.
No, but let's say it's just for champs. It's just for the tournament, and then they go off.
Yeah.
So if it's just for champs, would you pick YZ or Kang? Because I personally might be like, I might want YZ for this tournament right now.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would still pick Kong just because, like, his sheer ability to, like, I mean, he literally just willed them into a title last year. Like, the sheer force of his ability to be like, I'm winning this tournament. It's already proven.
True.
Also, I think they're kind of like, I think he is being nerfed by putting him on Yoru, but also he's had about a month to work on his Yoru, so his Yoru could certainly become better. I would still take him over YZ if we're saying Neon versus Neon. If we're taking Jet versus Jet, you take Kong Kong 100% of the time. Raze, maybe you go YZ. Yoru, certainly you go Kong Kong because I don't think YZ even plays it. I think somebody else plays it on the team, right? If they do play it at all.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, but it does create an interesting dilemma. But I think overall, and I do think as well sometimes, because I like to just, I get bored and I just think like, I know I'm gonna have to do this list anyway, so I just think like I'm just bored, so I'm just gonna do it today. Like I tend to do my list earlier than others, and then I'll get posted on like the Reddit or whatever, or some people will see it, and I do think like sometimes I see my picks at the end. Or sometimes, I mean, if I look at my list right now, I'm like, why did I do that? Half the things I do, I'm like, I don't even agree with myself, like, the day after for half of it.
Yeah.
But then I see, like, the plat chat list come out, and I am a bit like, did I influence people? Did I? Because I see some names on there, and I'm like, I wouldn't have expected the rest of the community. I wasn't expecting, Valen 4 from everyone else. I genuinely was like, well, most people probably won't put Valen that high. Most people will probably just, think whatever. But they did. And I was like, oh, wow. Everyone kind of put Valen up there. And I know that Valen had a terrific stage. But like you say, if you're going, it really depends in terms of, because again, if you think about IGLing is important, like if you prioritize that, you would put Valen probably 1. And if you went off like historic performance, not including IGLing, Valen wouldn't be on your list, right? So it's a weird one. Leaf, I think, is an interesting name, though. Would Leaf... I mean, what do you do with someone like Leaf who's played 2 games in these lists? What would you say? I mean, your stance, I guess, is Leaf has been very good in the past, so just put him in there.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that he's sort of like a catalyst for this team, I think. If he's having a very good tournament, I expect G2 to go really deep. And if he's not having a very good tournament, I think they may underperform.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's one that it's like he's like weirdly he's kind of like in the Osbos category. It's like we've seen him play so well that he's kind of getting the benefit of the doubt, whereas somebody like Osbos, who is years of data of being insanely good, is not getting the benefit of the doubt.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
just 2 more shouts that I just kind of want to put out there as people to watch. I don't know if they necessarily deserve to be in the top 10, but maybe in the top 20. Definitely players I'm really excited to see play on LAN. Hyunmin is unbelievable. Like he's really, really, really special as a player. And also Monyet's form has been incredible lately, and I could see him having like a top 10 statistical performance potentially if RQ has a good tournament.
Yeah, I was doing the prices for VFL, which should come out pretty well. By the time you're watching this, hopefully it will be ready and you can build your squad. But every time I was like, oh, Monyet versus this guy, who should be a higher price? Like, who would you rather have? And everyone was just spamming Monyet, like over a lot of like pretty good players on good teams, and they were right. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I would rather have Monyet with how he's playing right now. Like, he is. Like, yeah, he could really pop off if he continues what he's doing. So, speaking of hints, you might pick up some hints in a poker game. And whether you're new to poker or a long-time player, the place to do that is Raise Your Edge. Because Raise Your Edge has been helping thousands of people get better at poker, and the creator Ben CB is a professional poker player and has been destroying it for 13 years. And right now, you can get 25% off with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So now's the perfect time to get into poker or try and raise your edge, and you can do so by checking the link in the pinned comment or the description. But now let's get back to the podcast. Yeah, interesting one. And well, I mean, I feel like you might have hinted at some of the takes we might see later on as well for who you're excited about. You brought us some interesting names, right? You brought up Aspas, Hyunmin, 2 teams, I think, in MIBR and DRX that most people probably aren't excited about, but I'm interested to see what you think about them as teams, Mr. Speaks, because now we're going to pivot into talking about some of the things that we expect from the groups. Now, I don't want to go through the actual games and be like, oh,
Okay.
well, Paper X, if you look at their map pool versus Gili, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to do any of that. I want to just talk about the groups in general, some general thoughts about the teams, and then the two teams that will definitively get out of the group. There can be no disagreement. We have to agree.
All right.
Let's
All
start
right.
with Group A then. I am just going to
Okay.
quickly turn on my light. You yap about Group A for a second.
Okay. So, yeah, I think this is a group. I'm actually very curious to hear what your opinion is. This group, to me, I feel like is fairly cut and dry at who's getting out, but I think there is a chance for an upset, probably, of one of the teams. Now, I also have to just let you know that in honor, actually, I did this of my own accord, but in honor of this episode, the System 3.0 has been applied to this tournament.
Oh, no. Oh, it's a throwback. It's an absolute classic throw. It was Champs, wasn't it? That the system.
It was.
The system
Yeah.
was first invented, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I do have some numbers as well, but
I've got to hear this. I want the system's prediction for every group now. I didn't know
Okay.
this was coming.
Yeah, I mean, I posted it on my Twitter actually. You're not on
No,
x.com,
no, I
so
gave up on that.
haven't seen it, but I do have a power ranking that you probably will have lots of thoughts of.
Oh,
And I also have a full bracket done purely with the system.
wow. I need a link to this power ranking as well. Change the show. The show's completely changed. Now this is the system review show of Champs.
I also am more than aware that this is not accurate, because I didn't.
No,
I didn't,
don't say that.
I didn't fully I didn't go deep. I didn't go as deep as I could have, but I did do purely map pool based predictions just for fun, and a purely map pool based power ranking, again just for fun. And there's some stuff that will probably surprise people. Certainly, I got a lot of backlash on my post, as tends to happen. But yeah, Group A. I mean, I think generally speaking, Paper X Sentinels should be the two that come out. But I also could see Sentinels getting upset. I don't think Paper X will get upset in terms of not making it out of the group. I could see Paper X losing a game. But I definitely think they will make it through into playoffs.
Yeah, I think, again, when you're talking about Paper X, particularly with a team like Gili, I think that's a good, that I think is arguably probably maybe the best game they could have got, to be honest, because I think the way
Really?
that I do, yeah.
I think this is the most likely game for them to lose, is
Really?
against Gili.
Against Gili.
Yeah.
But on, like, how, I go on, because I've been struggling to even come up with how was Gili, and obviously I mean, what you just said, you don't think it's likely that this happens, but go on, tell me the case. Like, if Gili do beat Paper X, how does it happen? Because I've been struggling with that question for a while.
So I think map pool wise is the main way.
Okay.
Just I think that first of all, I think China as a whole is being underrated at this event.
I agree with that.
I feel like people have just kind of like forgotten how good China is mechanically. And I kind of have a theory about Chinese Valorant, and just like how when you watch it, it looks kind of messy and chaotic, and it makes you think like, oh, these guys are like cavemen, while everybody else is like already moved on to bronze tools and potentially, you know, like created cars and industry. But the reality is that I think that on average, Chinese teams have the best mechanical players in the world. And because of that, a lot of their play style has like shifted towards highlighting that, and like they get rewarded for being that. And so when some of these teams play against them, they will be surprised at how quickly they die, basically. Like, I think on average, like if for me, the gold standard right now in terms of mechanics is like Kiko, Woot, like these types of players. And I think most like America's teams, EMEA teams have like maybe 2 players that are at that level, and I think that on average Chinese teams have like 3 or 4, like mechanically. Um, and so their strats might not be quite as good. Their IGL might be a little bit more chaotic and weird. Some of their sort of like more, like monocle style Valorant stuff might be not as good as the other regions, but mechanically, I think they're probably the best region.
I mean, yeah, I think that's I'm not even sure if many people would argue with that. To be honest, I think that that's a pretty fair take. Which again, I think long term should be a worry for everyone else. Like long term, I think that like there will, and obviously we already saw ADG win champs last year, but at some point that threshold is gonna get crossed.
Yep.
And I do think really that is a reason why Pacific, I would say, kind of overtook Americas and EMEA this year as well. Is you're right. I feel like a lot of the Americas and EMEA teams, you do have 1, 2, maybe even 3 players, even on decent teams that, they're not terrible, but like they're not fraggers. You don't see them as like you can frag and take over a game at any moment. Like that's just, whereas I feel like on decent, on a lot of the decent Pacific teams, like you will get, there's 5 guys here who are all very strong individually, and can just at any point really kind of carry a game. I think a team like RRQ, I think, is a good example, right, of a team that's kind of risen this year, like quite high. And yeah, they've got Jemkin, and Jemkin will, carry a lot of games, but it's not unheard of to see really like a lot of the other ones, popping off and winning maps for them. So yeah, I think that that's true. But I do think in this Pacific specific example, the I just think that Paper X, we're talking about G-Li playing Paper X, who is not a team that you're going to out aim generally. That's not something that many teams will tend to do. So I still struggle to see, and you're right, map pool probably finding, if G-Li have cooked something on Abyss, like I would say picking Abyss probably is a decent idea. I hope the Paper X are clueless, and maybe you steal a win there.
So that, I think the reason why I think this has some upset potential is just simply because Paper X has not shown their corrode yet.
Yep.
I know what they're running because we scrim them, but I'm not going to say what it is.
An exclusive, a Cosmic Divine exclusive?
No, I mean, I know what they were trying, at least, because I scrimmed them. I haven't scrimmed them in a while, but I scrimmed them like a month ago when they were, working on their corrode. But they haven't shown what it is. I don't know what it is currently, and we have no idea what their Abyss is going to look like. Ascent advantage goes to G-Li.
Yeah,
they're very good on Ascent. Bind advantage goes to G-Li slightly. I think. You
would say
slightly. Corrode, who knows? Haven, slight advantage to G-Li. I mean, Paper X runs some crazy stuff. Like they're running I assume they're still running like the Waylay Yoru. But G-Li's numbers on Haven are slightly better than theirs. Again, this is just using pure map pool stuff. Lotus, Paper X, Sunset, Paper X. So out of those maps, I mean, G-Li has 3 to 2, and then 2 maps that we haven't seen, basically. So that's
you've got more hope than me, I'll say. Yeah, you're the map pool. I would factor in this team is better than the other team, maybe a bit more than you seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in my pick'ems, I have G-Li beating Paper X, and then Paper X beating them in the rematch because rematches are much harder to win. But I definitely could see
that would be a crazy upset. That's a crazy upset to first pick for the system. Which again, I do want to come back to that at the end of all this and talk about the system. Let's move on to the other 2 teams though. Giants and Sentinels. Sen, I feel like, are a somewhat known quantity in terms of where they are. Giants, maybe less so, considering kind of, we thought that they were kind of a middling, maybe even middle lower EMEA team, and then all of a sudden made it to the grand final on quite the run.
Yep.
There's something about Giants that, like, I like their players and I like their individuals.
But you don't believe.
I have no faith. I genuinely think part of what is keeping me back is I just hate that they play a ton of Breach, Double Initiator, and I just think it's horrible. And I'm just like, just play anything else, please. One, I think it's boring. One, I think you're
Yeah.
boring, so I don't like that. And two, I'm just like, surely this can't work. Surely it can't. And I do think that is keeping me back because I feel like if Giants were playing more comps that I thought that teams should be running, and they were doing
Mm.
that well, maybe I'd be like, oh, this team's spicy. But I think it's a personal hurdle that I can't quite get over with Giants. But that's unfair to them because they've got this far.
Yeah, so what I will say is just in terms of like the rock paper scissors of the
Hmm.
game, I do think that breach double initiator beats double duelist a lot of the time because
Yeah.
they're just better at taking fights. Um, and so I think it's going to be a little bit matchup dependent for them. So unfortunately for them, they play Sentinels, who knows how to deal with breach because
Yeah.
America's has been breach pilled forever. So I think they probably get owned by Sentinels just purely off of Sentinels being a better team with better protocols and better ideas.
Yeah.
And then whoever they play in the next game is potentially. I mean, it's probably going to be Gilai. That's a game that they potentially could win.
Yeah.
Um, and even if it's against Paper X, I feel like their stuff matches up better against Paper X than it does against Sentinels.
I agree.
But yeah, I think they're pretty cooked, specifically based on who they're playing in round one.
Yeah.
And yeah, they obviously have good players, but I have almost no faith that they'll have a good tournament just because a lot of these guys have never been anywhere close to this stage in terms of like pressure and level before.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's like a narrative that's kind of overblown, and they do have incredibly good players. But I do think that this is not a great group for them to be in for their first international tournament.
No, yeah, it's pretty tough. So, are we agreeing on Paper X Sentinels?
Yep.
The two that get out. Okay. Would the system agree?
Yep.
The system also agrees. So there you go. 3 out of 3 locked in. Me elevated and the system. Let's move on to the second group, Group B, which is, I mean, you're talking about tough groups. I'm looking at MIBR and thinking that's a pretty tough group for MIBR to get drawn into. Not many free ones in this one. How are you feeling about their chances?
Not good. I mean, just purely again based off of like map pools, they have the worst Ascent, they have the worst Haven, the worst Lotus, the worst Sunset at the tournament.
Yeah,
And then
Icebox was kind of their best map.
Yeah,
And it
their
rotated.
Icebox and their Corrode have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
But everywhere else they're pretty weak. And
one of those maps is gone.
Yeah, one of those maps is gone. It's never good. So a lot of sort of what I based a lot of these rankings off of is like I weighted how important the maps are in the pool, and
Okay.
Lotus accounts for 30% of the total maps played.
As someone who's manually doing the stats, we got a lot of Lotus games. Trust me, yes.
Yeah. It's 30% of the total games played. So by far number one. Haven is number two. And MIBR is 2-9 on Lotus this year, and so I think it's
2-9. That's crazy. Considering that, like, obviously they weren't good in stage 2, but like they were good for the rest of the year. So to be 2-9, that's tough.
Not only that, but they have a 39% attack sided win rate on a 3-site map, and so just purely off of that, like. I mean, are you banning your most played map? Maybe, but at the same time, then you're looking at like 0-5 on Ascent. Like it's.
Oh man,
it's not good. So
you're not feeling good about their chances?
No, Billy all the way in this game for sure.
An RRQ Fnatic. Now these teams, I think in general, like right now, I mean, speaking about map pools, and I'm interested to see what the system thinks of Fnatic's map pool. But currently, I'm quite worried about Fnatic's map pool. Like I know this has been a bit of a talking point, but I look at quite a few of their maps and think, like, there's definitely some things that you like they might need to change comps on multiple maps. I mean, they recently did on Haven, and it didn't really work for them. And it's like, are you going to go back to the old Fnatic comp? Are you going to stick with like the Viper stuff that they tried to do that, again, didn't work for them personally, but obviously has done for other teams? Where are you and the system on Fnatic?
So Fnatic, I mean, according to just like the map pool for the whole year, They're like number 3 overall.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you know, heavily because of being the second best Lotus team in the world. I have G2 at number 1, Fnatic number 2. Uh, Ascent being an important map where they are pretty good. I know that there's this whole like, okay, so again, a lot of the recency bias takes lately are like really kind of pissing me off, just because I feel like, yes, recent form is important to factor in, but I feel like there is enough time between the end of when they were playing and champions to where things can change pretty significantly. Um, and also, like, they have lost a lot recently on some of their better maps, which is one of the best ways to fix your problems. So I think that, like, because they have been kind of exposed on Ascent, because they have been kind of exposed a little bit on Lotus, because their Haven has been getting challenged, these are the times where you can actually kind of evolve as a team. Because if you're just winning the same way over and over and over, then you never actually figure out what's wrong with your strategy. But now Fnatic has had a ton of extra data to work with going into a tournament, and they've always been a team that is very good at adapting and creating stuff. And so I think that they are going to come in with sort of like a rejuvenated map pool to some extent. Um, and I just have a very hard time betting against them in a lot of cases.
Interesting, interesting. Because I am more worried about them because I think they've got a lot to fix. Like I agree with you that
Yeah,
it's it is good to figure out some of those weaknesses if you've got some weaknesses, but it would be nice also if you were still dominating. I guess, they've got a couple maps like that. Bind and Corrode have been, fairly solid for them overall. But in terms of,
Bind,
like, oh, sorry, yeah, did I
Bind
not say
Corrode
Bind?
Lotus. Yeah, Bind Corrode Lotus will be good for them. I think Abyss will be good for them because it's an Astra map. Boaster is he's probably the best Astra in the world. It's a great map for Alfear, just because whatever agent you put him on, he's going to be very strong. It's a very good map for Kayak potentially to play Yoru on. And again, I feel like they are good. I know that they weren't necessarily that good at Abyss in the past, but I feel like they're a team that is pretty good at like having good theory going
Mm-hmm.
into a new meta. And I feel like the previous Abyss takes are going to be somewhat outdated
Yep.
going into this year. And I just think that most teams like didn't really understand the map even back then.
But, well, talking about their matchup, are you not a bit worried that the team that they're playing against in RRQ is also one of those teams that could cook something up for Abyss if Fnatic do feel like their Abyss is pretty good? I feel like this first game in particular against RRQ, I could see RRQ, maybe playing something a little bit stranger, or something maybe the Fnatic aren't used to playing, obviously scrimming against a lot of EMEA teams. The RRQ might have a slightly different read and do catch them off guard somewhat. Are you worried about that? Obviously someone who's, been in the same region as RRQ. What are your thoughts
So
on
I
that?
yeah, I mean, I think if I just go purely on like map pool, I think RQ is being underrated by the numbers because I think they're a better team than like their numbers show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do think stylistically the matchup against Fnatic is kind of an interesting one because both teams are fairly methodical. They're almost like kind of copies of each other in a lot of ways, um, which can be good for both teams. I think that it's advantage RQ because of how Fnatic plays so slowly a lot of the time, which gives Jemkin a lot of opportunities to play with the operator, which is always a good thing for RQ. But I also think that Fnatic is one of the better teams at getting reads and anteing and that type of thing. And I think that
Yeah.
RQ is one of the easier teams to ante at the tournament, just
Yeah.
purely based off of my own sort of history doing exactly that. I feel like they are a little bit more formulaic than a lot of the other teams, and that sort of like leans into what Fnatic is good at.
Mm. I mean,
But
yeah, that could be the case.
yeah,
But that's where, like, again, I mean, if we got an Abyss on this, this could be interesting then, right? Because obviously
yeah,
they wouldn't know what RRQ were going to do, and that could be pretty tough.
yeah. I think this is going to be a very interesting game to watch for like the future of the tournament because I feel like whichever team comes out of this game has a very good chance to like make top four.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that because I think the level that you're probably expecting from both these teams is already kind of, a decent level out anyway. So if you can beat, if you can beat those teams and kind of get on a roll, where are we going with this game though? What's the system got? I've picked RRQ in my pick'ems, by the way, just to let you know. I picked RRQ.
I mean, I have Fnatic.
Okay.
I just think that Fnatic is being like pretty underrated by people because of the narratives around their map pool, and obviously they didn't have the greatest playoffs, but to me it's kind of irrelevant. I think that they're just like they're too good of a team to have that type of performance at Champions. And I think that they've had enough off time to kind of like retool a few things. And I think again, like stylistically, I would almost say RQ is like a little bit of like a Fnatic little brother in terms of how they approach a lot of the maps. And I think I'm gonna just go with the team that has like been there and done that more often. But I would not be totally surprised to see RQ win, but I would think this is like a pretty big upset if they do.
Interesting. Who do you have going out of the group? Who is it RQ Fnatic, or have you got Billy getting
I've
through
got
that?
Fnatic number 1, and then Billy beats RQ in the lower
You've
bracket.
got Billy beating RRQ in the lower. So you're not considering MIBR. We can just rule them out. They're gone.
Yeah, their map pool is just too bad. It's unfortunate.
They're
But
gone.
it's like, yeah.
See, now this is interesting because I've got the exact same thing but flipped, where I've got RRQ winning this, and then Fnatic winning that. But then Billy, because it's Billy,
Okay.
and I'm believing the narrative and want to believe the narrative that Billy will just continue to be the champs upset team.
Okay.
I've got them winning that game. So interesting that we both had Billy winning this decider against different teams. That's an interesting little dynamic we've pulled out there. Look, I'm personally well, I mean, I'm not against having any two of those three go through. I think all three are perfectly reasonable. If you came out here and said,
Wait.
DMV,
So you are
DMV,
against
listen
the
to
Brazilians
me.
having a good game?
MIBR, they're the best team in the world. They got the best player in the world. Let me tell you. Like, if you came on here and said that, I'd be like, get this guy off here. Get this guy out.
So what you're saying is that you are against the Brazilians and you don't like them as a country or as a culture.
I definitely did not say that. I definitely did not say that, and I wouldn't say that because I love Brazil. Brazil has the best football kit in the world, undisputed, and they will agree.
Just pandering to the national sport. Whatever.
I mean, it's just definitely true. Anyway, so let's agree then. Who are we agreeing on? Let's get some agreement here. Two of those teams. Who would you definitely say is going through?
I mean, I have Fnatic as the first seed.
Okay,
so
you've got Fnatic as the one.
Yeah.
I've got RRQ as the one. So Billy, unlucky, I guess. Those are the two teams that are going through. That's what we've agreed on. Okay, let's go to Group C, which, well, I mean, this group is hard, I think, for different reasons.
Yeah, I think it's sort of an interesting. You've got a bunch of sort of like middling. We don't really know what version we're gonna get teams.
Would you put Liquid above that where they are right now, or do you think the Liquid? Hey, this is Team Liquid.
No,
you've always hated Team
hard.
Liquid. It's a narrative on this show as long as history. This guy right here, he has always hated Team Liquid.
I actually really like what they've been doing this year. I think Liquid are for me, Liquid are like the hardest team to get a read on because sometimes they look like they could actually just win this tournament, and then other times they look like an average team. Yeah. And so I think, like, just full disclosure, I have them beating DRX, which I think is like a pretty simple take. Yeah. And then I actually have them losing to EDG. Again, I'm kind of going with this narrative of like
the resurgence.
China being pretty underrated by everybody. This is again my predictions on my pick'em are just purely based off like the map pool numbers for the entire year, which is going to have a bit of, China farming for EDG for stats, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of unlucky for Energy because like they're a team that has like started to show some promise, but I think they have almost no chance in this group.
Really? They have no chance. See, because I agreed with you. I also picked EDG for this game, but I do think that this game is because you said that Liquid are a bit of an unknown team. I would also put EDG somewhat
Yes.
in that realm of like this. You could make this EDG logo a coin and flip it for how I think they might do, because I really do think if you told me that they bombed out, I would be like, yeah, okay. Like
Yeah.
okay. But if you told me, well, this is the thing. We're gonna do this a bit later. But if you told me that they won the tournament, there, like, you could go, well, they did win it last year, and if they,
Yeah.
like, maybe Kang
And they
Kang
have the
is the,
same
like, Kang Kang
they have
becomes the
the
best
same
Yoru, and it's
team
like, yeah,
with more firepower this year. It's like the
yeah.
same team with more firepower now. So
But why did you
yeah.
say NRG have no chance? Would you pick DRX in this game over them if they got here? Are you just like NRG, like they're on a rise, but they aren't that good? Like where are you there?
Yeah, so I actually have energy beating DRX. I think
Okay.
I'm the lowest on DRX out of any of the teams in this group. Um, but I just think that it's going to be very hard for energy to beat these two teams. Like, I mean, I feel like there's some chance if EDG like super troll their map pool or something like that, maybe. But
Possible.
for me, energy is like they're really good at defense and their attack is like not great. And I feel
Yeah.
like you need to be a really complete team with a very solid map pool at this tournament, especially in a group with like very experienced players. Um, I have Liquid beating them in the decider, so I've got EDG first seed, Liquid second seed out of this group. Um, I guess there's like some world where Energy could, let's say, if a bad EDG shows up, Energy maybe beats them and then beats them again in the decider or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't see them beating Liquid, and so if they have to play Liquid in the decider, like I have them in my bracket, then I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I actually did go for the theory of we'll get a middle EDG, they'll win this game, Liquid will beat
Hmm.
EDG, and NRG will win the rematch. As you said, the
Hmm.
rematch hard to win. That's the
Hmm.
path that I've got them going on, but I'm absolutely perfectly fine to agree with you that Liquid EDG, because again, I'm happy for EDG to go through, because I do think I'm definitely with you as well that the Chinese teams are being underrated by most people. Most people tend to have like, oh, China teams will win one game. Well, no, that just doesn't happen anymore, does it? I mean, they won
Yeah.
champs. They've always end up with like a top four team. It's
Yep.
just a world we live in now. Like always, at least one Chinese team is gonna do pretty well, because as you say,
Yep.
they like one Chinese team. They've got very good players top to bottom. So whoever hits that ceiling and whoever's in the momentum and the form, they're gonna
Yep.
do well at the tournament, because that's just the way it is. Uh, let's go to the final group. Now, based on what you've been talking about so far, I'm going to guess that you think that this group should be fairly two-sided with the two teams up here. Have I got it right or wrong?
Yeah, yeah. I know that this one people are looking at like Heretics as potentially the team that gets upset. I know a lot of people have picked that to happen.
Yeah.
People think they're gonna massively underperform, and I think that narrative is. I think it has like some legs, but I also do not believe in it at all. Like this team literally won EWC. Like they've finally gotten over that hump a little bit, and yes, they kind of underperformed at playoffs in stage 2, but their team is just so good, and they've been here on this exact same situation before, like the exact same roster. I feel like there's just like to me there's just no world where they bomb out of this tournament.
See, now this is interesting, because
I actually feel more confident in Heretics making it out of this group than I do against G2.
Okay, I think that's I don't quite agree with you on that one, but what I was going to say is what you were saying about Fnatic is how I feel about Heretics,
Mm.
because like even though they had the similar sort of like playoff, woes and not doing well, for me the difference was Heretics I thought played very well during the group stage. They looked like a
Mhm.
very solid, like again, I said this in one of my videos, like if the if we just ended before the playoffs in the MEA and you didn't get to see it,
Mhm.
people would be putting Heretics with G2 and Paper X as
Yeah,
like teams that are favorites to win the tournament.
yeah,
Um, Fnatic, I feel like there was more of a struggle throughout the group stage. It wasn't as clean. It was a bit like games weren't as good for them. There was more worries there. So I think that's a bit longer term, and there's a bit
yep,
more to fix. But Heretics, I'm totally with you. I just think like, look, I mean, we've seen Heretics obviously at Toronto. Like they can hit a floor. They can hit a floor and be pretty bad. But
Yep.
I'm with you. I don't see it happening this tournament. I think that they will lock in, and I don't fully agree that G2 are not or less likely to make it through than Heretics, but that's just because I have full faith in G2. But I'm 99% faith on Heretics too. So
Yeah.
you know. But do you have Heretics beating G2 in this game?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
Okay.
like they have, according to, again, just purely the numbers. This includes EWC winning for Heretics.
Mm-hmm.
Heretics have the best map pool in the world. G2 is number 2. It's very, very close between the two of them. But Heretics slightly edges them out because they have more number 1 maps. Actually, I think they both have the same number 1 maps, but Heretics have a significant advantage on Haven, and one of their most likely maps to ban is Lotus, which is G2's like one of G2's best maps. And so I think obviously this series should be crazy. It should be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Either team can win it. But yeah, I think Heretics, according to the numbers, has a tiny advantage.
Okay. But we both agree that those two are the teams, that whatever way it plays out, that they get out. Out of these two, are you saying that T1 are more likely? If there was some crazy upset in our minds, who is the team more likely, do we think?
So again, purely based off of map pool, DRG beats T1, and then loses to Heretics and G2. But in my actual like brain, I feel like T1 probably has a better chance of beating DRG, and the only crazy scenario that could happen is if G2 loses to Heretics and then has to play T1, and it's just like, Bangkok
they get flashbacks, like Vietnam flashbacks.
That maybe there's a world where T1 could beat G2 in a rematch, just purely based off of like prior narrative and experience.
I mean, that actually I didn't even consider that. That would be a worry. Like, what if that did get into G2's head? Because it could even happen the other way, right? Like, it could happen where G2 win this game, you get it in the winners, and then T1 make it through. And then all of a sudden you're looking at Heretics G. Like, if this happened, I mean, this game would be insane. That would be a truly insane game at that point. I don't think it will happen. We both seem to agree. So I think overall what we ended up having there was Heretics G2 coming out from Group D. We decided on EDG Liquid from Group C. We both reluctantly decided to kick out BLG with RQ Fnatic. And then in Group A we had Paper X Sentinels. So we've ended up, I think, in a fairly realistic world. I don't think there's any crazy shocks there overall. I think that ended up, somewhat normal. And I like this. I like when people do like what you've done here, where you've come up with a model, and you just stick to the model, because the model says things that, people in the moment don't think, right? Like it comes like it has a strict basis of this means equals this, which gives you things that, I think the human nature doesn't tend to go with that. We're more go with the flow.
Yeah, see, I think like if this tournament was happening right now, like if the first week had happened like last week, I would be a lot more inclined to sort of be like stage 2 results equals bracket equals, then I probably am taking Fnatic to lose and stuff like that. But I think there's been enough time. I also think something that people need to maybe consider is that, like, for EMEA, they don't have to travel. So they're hanging out in Europe this whole time, getting extra practice. They don't have to deal with jet lag. Like, I think for me, my sort of like hot take is that Americas is going to have maybe the worst overall performance, like out of the 4 teams at this tournament, followed by Pacific. And I think that EMEA and China are going to overperform, and I think Pacific is going to underperform, and I think that Americas is going to underperform. Personally. But, well, I could be very wrong about that.
Well, we can save some of the thoughts for what we're about to do next, because what I want to do next is this. Now, this is a tier list, but what I want to do with this tier list is a bit different, because I don't want to just power rank the teams. It is somewhat power ranking the teams, but I want us to power rank them based on their actual chances of winning. Okay? So not finishing second, not doing well, like who is the most likely to win, and then who is the second most likely to win, etc. Because as we've talked about kind of with some of the teams, maybe this one, some teams are going to end up a lot higher or more likely winning perhaps than others because you believe in their ceiling, right? And you believe that if everything went right for them. So here are the tiers that I've got. Favorites, of course. Contenders. If all goes right. T1 won Bangkok, as in sometimes weird things can happen. And the world is ending. If a team won, that would mean the world is ending. Okay.
Put DRG in that one.
Put DRG in that one. You want to put this in just straight away?
Yeah.
The world is ending. DRG.
It's the right color for that tier also.
Yeah, it is the right color for that tier. Let's start with the favorites though. I think there's two teams that everyone would put up here, right? Which is PaperX and G2. Am I crazy to think that they should? Go on.
I just, for whatever reason, I just don't believe in PaperX this tournament. Like I don't really know why, but I just don't believe in PaperX this tournament.
I want you to put away your feelings, and I want you to become the cold, calculated robot, and think about like a pie chart that said the expected chance of winning a tournament. Would PaperX not be one of at least the top 3 teams?
Yeah, they probably would be.
Well, then there you go. They would in the favorites here. Then we can talk about what order they go in next. But is there anyone else who you genuinely think like this team has a really good chance of winning?
I would put Heretics up there. I think the map pool. I think their individual players. I think the fact that they were here last year and like have experienced the pressure and all that stuff. I think it sets them up for a very good chance to play well at this tournament.
I agree, because I mean, as I was saying before, like, you know, take out their playoff games and people would have this. This is what it would have looked like on all power rankings anyway. If this was
like
the case.
I think if you just take Heretics out and you put like Sentinels in here, do I favor Sentinels over either PaperX or G2? No. If I put Fnatic in there, do I favor them over either of these teams? Maybe PaperX purely off of style, but definitely not over G2. And if you just kind of go through every single team, the only one that actually makes sense is Heretics, and then maybe EDG. But that's okay. I feel like EDG can't go in here because a lot of things have to go right. To actually,
okay. Well, let's order these first, right? So you're not as high on PaperX. That's fine. Do you want to put G2 number 1?
I think if it's G2 against PaperX in the finals, G2 will win. So yes.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with this to put that there and leave it as is. Now maybe you would put PaperX below Heretics with the way you're sounding, but I still think there's a little bit of doubt about. There's more doubt about like Heretics getting out of their group, for instance, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree with
PaperX should be.
It's like if Heretics shows up and plays like they can, then they should very easily be in this tier. But there's an if there, whereas I know that PaperX is going to play well, and I know that and I know that G2 and PaperX will play well enough to get out of their group and go to playoffs. So
let's talk about that next tier then. So you mentioned a team. I'm not sure if I want to start with that team. Let's start with some easier ones, I think.
Okay. Put Fnatic in there.
Fnatic, I think, definitely in there. And now the other two that a lot of people are going to say is Sen and Team Liquid, I think, as the two other kind of like, you know, high skill teams. Now, here's my hot take. By the way, Team Rocket is NRG. I picked this tier list specifically because it turns NRG's logo into just Team Rocket. So, and it makes me laugh. Here is the take for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think EDG are more likely to win this tournament than Sen or Team Liquid are.
I agree with that.
I think there is more chances, and you agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wow.
I think out of Sentinels and Liquid, God, I feel like in theory Sentinels should be able to win this tournament, but I just don't think that they can. And again, I don't really know why.
I think the reason why is because I think Sen just consistently throughout this season have been I mean, I said this on Blackjack a couple of weeks ago. They are the gatekeeper team. They like if they play against a G2 or a PaperX or a Heretics on form or a Fnatic on form or even an EDG on form, I just don't think they win those games. I just think that they just get slightly outclassed by all of they will beat teams that they are better than. And this is what they've done all year. They finished 5th, 6th in these internationals for the same reason. Because they get through the groups, because they're better than the teams in the groups. But then they eventually come up against a team who's in form, who is just slightly better than them, and they just don't seem to be able to reach that. On top of that, now, more recently, obviously, we've seen for the first time this year, they didn't beat NRG, they didn't finish in the top 2, so they're even more maybe on a bit of a got some things to figure out as well. So yeah, I just, like, again, if we're just talking, and this is what this exercise is, who is going to win the tournament, like paths to win the tournament, I think it is much easier to create a path 3DG. Kang's Yoro looks amazing. They all lock in. They find the form they were in last champs. Boom, they can win this tournament. Like, it's really quite easy to see that happening. Like, it's not like, will it happen? Probably not. Right? They could easily bomb out.
I think there's like, that's what I was gonna say. I think there's like just as easily a percentage, like it's equal percentage chance that they go 0-2 and lose and like blow up their roster, or they literally end up in the grand finals.
Yeah, like, exactly. But like, it's not hard to imagine that scenario. Whereas for Sen, and I would put Liquid in there somewhat as well. Like, how do they beat like a G2 in like the top 3, top 4? You know what I mean? Like,
I see the only reason that I can put Liquid in contenders is because I feel like they have like a little bit of like magic. Like,
okay, I'm actually with you as well. I would definitely put Liquid over Sen.
There's like a weird like Nats.
It's called Nats on Bind. Yeah, it's called Nats. It's all Kiko just take over a map and sneak them a map that they shouldn't have won.
Yeah, because I like legitimately, I still don't. I think that they could very easily upgrade their roster in the offseason, but there's something about like this group of players and like the way that everybody is like playing their role specifically that is really kind of making them almost like more than the sum of their parts right now. And then you have like whatever Nats is doing is like he's on like a generational run as far as like his form recently. So
and I agree. I think that maybe the problem with Liquid is some of those, like, if you're gonna win champs, you're gonna need those other players, the non-Kiko Nats, and Trex does it sometimes as well, but you're gonna need all of the other 3.
So
here we go.
That is one thing I don't know where this exactly fits in, but I did want to say I think Vitality made one of the worst managerial moves in the history of the game by letting Trex go. And that has massively improved Liquid's chances of a top 4 finish at this event.
Yes, I definitely agree. And that's the thing. If we were doing, and this is where, again, this is different. If this was a top 4 list, I'd probably put Liquid like 3rd. I feel like they have a decent chance of finishing in the top 4, but I'm talking about winning it. And to win it, you got to have a little je ne sais quoi, however you say it. Sentinels. Je ne sais quoi. That's what I'm looking for. It's in Paris as well. Fitting.
Yeah.
I want to put Sen here.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, again, they have the caliber of player to win this tournament, but for whatever reason, almost like in polar opposite to Liquid, I feel like they're playing below their ceiling consistently this year. And I don't really know exactly what's going on, but they're not quite meshing as well as a Liquid is, and I don't know if like their roles are still a little bit weird or the meta doesn't fit them or what, but there's just something not quite right about.
I do think the met, like, I think they only played double duelist like a couple times, and when they did, it didn't really work for them. So I do think they are limited somewhat in terms of some of the things. Go on.
I also think that they're better when they're not playing double duelist. I think Narrate needs to be playing recon.
Well, yeah. This is my point. Yeah, I think they're limited somewhat.
Double duelist is overrated.
Well,
double duelist is overrated.
I'm not fully against you there either, but I do think in terms of giving you options and potential solutions for a team, I think it's better obviously if you can do multiple things. Like for instance, Liquid, right? Like, they don't play double duelist all the time, but they have a couple maps where, let's just put Kiko on Raze and let him go off the leash and win as a map.
I think that's exactly that's exactly how you should be doing it. Playing double duelist in every map is trolling. Playing double duelist sometimes is good, and only if it fits your team.
Yeah, but I do think that Sen are somewhat hampered by that. And I agree. With Sen, it's like they take turns in terms of who's going to do well, but then the rest of them don't. And they'll just like swap every week or so of like, this week's my week, guys, and then the other 4 play kind of average to not great. But
Yep.
if all goes right, though, they could still win. But we shall see. Now let's talk about the rest, because this is where I think it gets harder to rank in terms of who. Because now we're looking, I think, at a bunch of teams that most people wouldn't have winning this event or really having that great of a chance of winning this event.
I think RQ goes in this tier.
Okay, I'm totally with you. They were gonna be the team I pulled out next. Well, one, tell me how would RRQ win this event? Like what would happen?
So I think part of it is that they have a unique read on the meta. Like they're the only team that's playing a lot of
Waylay gets
Waylay.
secretly buffed is how they win.
Well, I just think they understand how to play the agent, which is good. I think that there is a world where Jemkin is the best player in the world. I think there is a world where Cushy is the rookie of the year. I think there is a world where Crazy Guy is the best IGL at the tournament. And I think their support players, not support, but they're kind of role players of Manette and Xfero. Without revealing too much, they're these are the two players that we antied the most, Xfero and Manette. And to me, I found them very hit or miss when I watched their games. But when they are hitting,
they hit hard. Yeah.
Hitting. They are hitting. And so I think there is, there is a world where everybody on their team is clicking. They have won stuff in the past, so they know how to win. They are a team that has a slightly unique read on how things are going, which is not like too far off the beaten path. It's not like the XLG triple Sentinel double wall comp on Lotus. It's like a different flavor of what people are kind of doing, but like tweaked to be specifically good for them. And they have a very good coaching staff. So all those things together, it's like they've got chemistry, they've got good leadership, and they've got good ideas. So
I think one way for RRQ to win is if they do cook up something kind of weird for Abyss, and no one has the chance to like figure it out. You know what I mean? Like they do something that no one has seen before, and it's like, whoa, how do you play against that? If you do see something like that, I think genuinely that would be a massive advantage. Because of course, that's the thing going into this tournament. Whoever has the best Abyss is probably gonna place, a good couple positions above what maybe the expectation for them is, right? Because it's just going to give you a pretty big advantage in a veto. Anyway, let's talk about moving on, because I definitely agree with you, RRQ here. Am I crazy for suggesting that our next team, in terms of most likely to win, even though I have almost no hope that this is going to happen, is T1?
Nope, I was literally going to say T1. and it's just because they have championship caliber players. So it's like if everything goes correct and Autumn is not flaming his players and everybody is just at peak performance, I mean, they can shoot as well as anybody on this list for sure.
Yeah. And the reason that I said that is obviously they have won a Masters this year. So is it that crazy that they could do it again? I mean, I really don't think it will happen. I also think because of the group they're in, it's even less likely to happen, right? Because they're going to have to get out of a very tough group. But yeah, if they did get out of that group and did look good, and we saw it even at Bangkok, right? They didn't start off playing that amazing either, but they grew it. Yeah. They all of a sudden it was like, holy, what the hell is this team? And then they completely disappeared again and didn't do that.
Yeah, they are a very weird team. But it's like looking at the top 10 list, the fact that there's no Meteor, there's no Buzz. Yeah. Like we haven't talked about Stacks or Izu at all, like at any point over the last like 2 months.
Even DH has looked pretty good.
Yeah, he's been really rounding into form as well. Like they are very, very talented, and it just depends on whether they can put everything together.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of agreement so far. Now, I would say this is where that tier ends. I would say
I agree.
Yeah, the rest I'm looking at and not feeling as great about. And now I think we can start getting into the weeds a little bit of like separating these. I think is not going to be too easy. I would maybe say BLG is next. Would you agree with that?
I think BLG is the only one that can go in the T1 Bangkok tier.
Oh, interesting. Okay, explain why.
Maybe Energy, but I can't see any of these other teams winning this tournament. Like I would literally say 0% chance for the rest of these teams.
Really, zero. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at XLG, Giants, definitely MIBR. I think these two, but DRX, can you really? What's the case for DRX? How would DRX win this tournament? I mean, they could have a good Abyss. That is one thing that they could have. They
The
could have a
case
good Abyss, but
the case for DRX is that somehow everybody still has not learned how to play Abyss any differently, and that the Ascent comp is still the correct way to play. In which case, DRX will have the best Abyss at the tournament. But
I
this
just don't
seems
see it.
like
Yeah, I just
no.
don't see it. NRG, I get. Yeah, I'm totally with you. NRG is like, because like the difference I think between like a BLG is BLG have multiple players who are pretty experienced now on that.
Yeah.
If and like you say, they're a Chinese team and therefore have, very good aimers, right?
Yeah.
It would be a T1 Bangkok situation if it was BLG, right? Like they
Yeah.
just go crazy white hot, play
Yeah.
insanely well for a week, and win the tournament out of nowhere. That is really the only way they can win it. And I think the difference with NRG is, they have. I just don't see that same world again. I feel like with the Americas teams, maybe it's because I've just seen it, right? Like, how
Yeah.
would they beat G2?
Yeah, I don't think it's see weirdly there's a world where I could see Energy beating G2. I think
Go on.
I think this is gonna sound super crazy.
Ethan's
but
won
I would almost have more faith in Energy beating G2 than Sentinels beating G2.
Wow.
Um,
I mean, I don't even necessarily disagree. I can understand that.
there's just like again,
It's like an
Energy is just one of
impenetrable
those
force field for Sen.
yeah, Energy is just one of those teams where it's like, yes, Ethan has won champions.
Yes.
They have a slightly different idea about how to play the game than everybody else. They do things a little bit more like unique than some of these other teams. They're particularly really good at defense, which defense wins championships in NFL terms, but not
Doesn't
talent.
quite work the same when
No.
you have to play 12 rounds on each side.
No, but like I don't know, they just have like a little bit of like this interesting flair to them.
They do.
Like
They play a lot of Odin. They play with different guns quite a lot. I like that.
yeah, like
Could catch
I
people
don't know.
out.
I'm just a fan of teams that
Let's
like
do it.
they seem to have like a little bit more identity
Yeah,
than other teams.
I agree. Yeah.
And yeah, like just I don't know. There's something kind of cool about the makeup of this team. Like sometimes Mata can be just the best player in the
Yeah,
world.
he can. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes Sam is just truly a superstar on Smokes. A lot of times he's just kind of like a good support player, but he's like his vibes are good. He has the ability to just be the best Smokes player. Brock has become a menace, right? And then yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like Bonkar has done a good job with this team. Weirdly, I'm having a hard time remembering who their last player is. Ethan and
Mata, Scuba.
Scuba. Yeah.
Scuba dooba doo.
I don't really even know what to think about Scuba. I mean, he's good, but like, yeah, they're not going to win. But could they? In like some fever dream?
Come on, put them in
potentially?
T1 Bangkok. Let's do it. Let's
Sure.
do it. Riot secretly buffs the Odin, and they take that to winning gems. Yeah.
It now shoots cluster grenade rounds.
Yes, exactly. Through walls.
Yeah.
Right, let's log this in. So there are 5 teams we think that have like you would give almost 0% chance. But giving these two, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
1, 2.
Yeah, I would put BLG at maybe like 2%, Energy at like 0.01%.
Yeah, but let's believe. Just believe.
Yeah.
Then these guys, what we're saying?
I think RQ is number 1 above Sentinels.
Put them above Sen. Again, I'm not against it, to be honest. A lot of Sen fans are gonna be coming at your door, knocking on your door and saying,
yeah,
especially if they win. God, you better hope that they don't win now.
Elevated.
I told you, man. I told you.
This is why GE was terrible. Yeah, good luck finding a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, RRQ above Sen. I'm for it. And then, yeah, I'm happy with the rest. So we're saying that obviously these guys we're looking at. Well, I would put these two at like 20.
You think 20% chance that it's one of these two teams?
No, they both have 20 themselves, so 40%.
No way.
You don't
bro.
think so?
No. No, dude. Champions is such a crazy tournament. I would put no team with above 15% chance to win this tournament.
Okay, 15 then. You're still at 30. You're not that far off.
That's-
This is what I always people always do this. They go and I always
That's
people,
a pretty
people go,
pretty
what
big
the hell are you talking about? What the hell? It's
I mean
5% less.
no, it's
We
25%
agree.
less.
No. I'm saying together they have 40, as in like both would be 20. You're saying both would be
No.
15. We agree.
think-
We basically agree. Fugazi.
Maybe 10% is max.
But 10%. I mean, you're running. You're not getting to a percent. If you give 10% to G2 and 10% to Paper X,
Yeah.
you've got what 0.1 here, 1 here.
Yep.
What's this? 2, 3, 4. You don't have a full percent. You don't know how percent works. You're doing per 50.
I mean, you never know with the French. They might protest and
The game gets cancelled. You're saying 50% chance it gets cancelled,
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
well, anyway, that's in the books. Okay, we actually weirdly agreed quite a lot on that. But let's end then with us giving. Let's give our final. I want a top 4. We'll go in order. I'll go first. You can go second. We'll go fourth, third, second, first, and then we'll give an MVP at the end. Okay, so I'm gonna start
MVP
off.
player.
MVP player, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna start off with my number 4, and in my number 4, I'm gonna put BLG.
Okay.
If you want me to give a reason, it's because a Chinese team finishes in the top 4, and even though we put EDG pretty high as like they could go on some crazy run, I'm gonna say that doesn't quite happen, and that therefore BLG will end up being the best Chinese team, and that team they'll go on a good run and get to 4th.
Okay.
Who's
I'll
your
put Paper
4th team?
X at number 4.
Paper Rex at number 4. Interesting. Okay. Any reason why? I mean, why will they bomb out? I think most people would see that as an underachievement.
I mean, they'd see it as an underachievement, but top 4 champions.
Top 4 champs? It's pretty good.
It's crazy good. It's crazy
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
I mean, what? You're expecting them to go back-to-back finals? That's just like, those are like insane expectations.
Well, no, I'm
really
not
good.
expecting to go back-to-back finals because in my 3rd place, I've got Paper Rex.
Okay, so you think they're going to finish essentially at the same spot as me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, who's your 3rd place?
Third, fourth is like the same thing, basically. 3rd place, I'm going to go EDG. I'm just going to go with this name.
Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
say EDG is going to go, they're going to go on a run. They're going to go 3rd place.
Okay, interesting. I like it. My 2nd place, I'm going to go for G2 as my 2nd place. They lose another grand final. The justification is that they're very good and they lose in big finals.
I'm also going to go G2.
Oh, we both got G2 finishing 2nd. That would be a heartbreaker. Imagine they won all America's trophies and they finished 2nd in 2 internationals as well. That's an insanely...
Welcome to the Heretics lifestyle.
Yeah. But Heretics didn't even win anything. Well, they just finished 2nd every time last year.
Yeah, last year.
At least G2 have some America's trophies to lean back on. And winning the tournament, I've got the aforementioned Team Heretics.
Me too.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. That's not what I expected. So we pretty much exactly agree. We both had a Chinese team. You had them 3rd, I had them 4th.
Yep.
Okay, slightly different Chinese teams, but we got a Chinese team 3rd or 4th. We flipped Paper X 4th and 3rd, and then we have the same grand final. Well,
God, we could not be more wrong. There's no way that we both agree on this.
T1 and DRG are gonna get out of their group, and we're gonna look stupid.
Sentinel's gonna win. We're gonna get inundated with hate.
We're gonna get absolutely cooked. But yeah, the insanity. insanity for that to happen. That we picked the same teams, but I guess we're both just believing in Team Heretics. And look, no one has ever been wrong picking Team Heretics to win an international before. I don't think anyone has ever made that mistake of picking Team Heretics to win an international tournament and being disappointed. Surely they wouldn't do that to us, Elevated, right?
They're definitely going 0-2, aren't they? They're gonna lose to G2, crumble mentally, and lose to DRG.
Obvious.
And DRG is
It's
gonna
so
go
obvious.
Yeah.
So it literally happened last tournament. Put any pressure on them and they'll crumble.
Well, switching my pick. DRG is in the grand finals.
There you go. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Okay. I think I'm gonna let you get back to your. You're in central. You're in the middle of America, so I assume you're gonna go out into the fields and do some farming. That's I assume whatever or anything does there.
Tip some cows, wrestle some hogs.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you for joining me, Elevated. It's been a pleasure as always. You came in pretty spicy, I think, and I appreciated that. It's a lot of fun. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, it was just like riding a bike. This is where I belong: podcasting, debating Valorant with TMV. So if you guys want to see that, we'll probably be co-streaming some games together at some point.
Yes, I assume we will. Yeah, thanks for joining me. And as I said, and we'll get to this if it ever does come to pass. But I would love to do an episode in the off season talking coaching theory and going back to my master's degree and talking about a bunch of shit. But yes, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching Cosmic Divide. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you're all looking forward to Jams. I certainly am. Should be a banger. Have a nice day.
See ya.